What's up, everybody? It's your boy Phil Porto, photographer, videographer, and educator, and I'm back once again in my makeshift studio while I visit some family. And yes, the audio and video quality might not be up to par with what I normally try to put out. However, I really want to keep making these videos, and I don't want too much time to pass while I'm here visiting and enjoying time with my family. So what we're going to talk about today is a question that I was asked in one of my comments. Someone asked, "Hey Phil, if you could only choose one lens, what lens would that be?" And I kind of chuckled at first because I was like, well, why would I choose when I can have a different lens that I enjoy or multiple lenses for different scenarios? Then my mind started running. What if I could only have one lens? What would that lens be? Well, let's talk about it. So let me start off by saying that I shoot a majority of my images with prime lenses. Not because I'm a prime elitist or anything like that, but I just love the quality of images that I'm able to get with my primes. And I started to think, though, if I could only have one lens, why would I want to limit myself to only one focal length? Wouldn't it be best in that case to actually just choose a good zoom lens? And that's where the issue arose for me. The one problem that I have found as a Fuji shooter is that Fuji zoom lenses have not really wowed me in any way, shape, or form. I'm not trying to knock them. They are decent lenses. However, I have not found a zoom lens that has made me go, yeah, this is the one. I'll admit, I've not tried some of the other off-brand zoom lenses that are out there for the X-mount. A majority of the lenses that I will be talking about are Fuji native lenses because that's what I've used. I do want to try the Sigma 18-50 and hopefully I'll get the opportunity to do that soon and then we can revisit this conversation. But once again, I'm speaking a majority of Fuji native lenses in this video. So as much as I love Fuji prime glass, I have not had that same affinity when it comes to Fuji zoom lenses. Once again, they're not bad. They have just not swept me off my feet. At one point, I had the 18-55, and it was a decent lens. I liked it better for video than I did for photo, but at the end of the day, it wasn't really for me, so I moved past that one. I have the 10-24, and though it's a good lens, and I use it a lot on my stabilizer, it's also an f4 lens, and honestly, it's not the crispness that I really want in my images. And then there's the 16-55. And though I use the 16-55 in many scenarios, it is not a lens that I would choose as my lens of preference. Though I jump shipped from Canon years ago, and I don't miss it whatsoever, right before I switched over, they did release a new version of their 24-70. And this version 2 was actually an incredible lens. I actually loved using it. When I looked at the images, it felt like I was shooting with a prime lens most of the time. However, I have not found a zoom lens in the Fuji system that gives me that same feeling. I'm hoping that there will be a re-release of their 16-55. They've done a lot of updates on their lenses. However, this lens is pretty old. This version of the lens was released in 2015, so yeah, it's due for an upgrade. So Fuji, if you're watching this, please give us an upgrade. Please give me a 16-55 that I can throw my money down and truly love. The updated versions of all the lenses you guys have put out have truly wowed me, and I would love to be wowed by a 16-55. But until that happens, I can't choose a Fuji zoom. So what lens would I choose? I would choose this guy right here, the Fuji 33 1.4. I've been using this lens for quite some time now. It was a great upgrade from the old 35mm, and it continues to be a lens that I can continue to rely on and continue to enjoy. So I'm going to break down 4 quick reasons on why I would choose this Fuji 33mm as my sole lens. So first, the build quality. The build quality of this lens is seriously amazing. One thing I love about Fuji is not just its look and its aesthetic, but also the feel of its cameras and its updated lenses. So I say updated lenses because it was not the case back in the day, at least not for me. I will admit that I am not the kind of photographer that babies my gear. Like, I'm a little bit rough with my gear. I travel a lot with my gear. It goes through things. So I need a lens and a body that can actually deal with that. And I don't feel like the older versions of the lenses could do that. A lot of times I felt like my focus rings started to get very loose. The rubber on them would come off. There were times that I would have to send the lens back just to make sure that the focus can get recalibrated. And it just didn't seem like those old lenses were everything that I needed. However, with the build of this new 33, I have not had any of those problems, and I truly, truly love this lens. And that leads me to the second reason, and that's the versatility of this lens. This lens is not too close of a focal length, but it's also not too wide of a focal length, because as much as I love wide images, it can only be used in certain scenarios. And same with close-ups. So this lens, I feel like, is the perfect focal length for me to be able to do many things with. I can shoot wedding prep, I can shoot the ceremony, it's great for portraits, and I could even use it if I have to on the dance floor. Not my preference, but something that I could still get away with by shooting a little bit further away or getting a little bit higher up on the dance floor and being able to capture those images that I love. So I feel like this lens on a wedding day would be great because it does have that versatility. Most times that is one lens that does not come off my camera at a wedding. It's also a focal length that I would be more than comfortable using it for headshots or for portraits, studio shoot, on location, even brand photography. It's the kind of lens that I feel has a lot of versatility to it. And it's also a lens that I would feel comfortable with using it in video. And since I do photo and video, that is another key point that I need, is a lens that would be great for photo, but also great for video. So it's a lens that I could still use for YouTube, even though it's going to be a little closer than I would like, but it's also the kind of lens that I can use for a video shoot for a whiskey brand or anything like that. Another thing I really like about this focal length is that if I need things to be a little bit wider, I can just take a few steps back if I'm able to. And if I need things a little bit more close up, I can always shoot in 6.2K on the Fuji X-HS2 and then just crop in. So the versatility of the focal length is very important to me. And that leads me to my third point, and that is that this lens travels well. Listen, if I can't have multiple lenses and multiple camera bodies and I have to choose one, I want to make sure that it's not bulky, that it's light, and that it's easy to get around with, because I'm going to do things like street photography with it. I'm going to do things like weddings with it. I'm going to do corporate shoots with it. And so I want it to be flexible and travel well. I want to put it in something like my little hex sling that I use for street photography, where I have my body and then I have the lens right here. So I want it to be a lightweight system that travels well. And then the fourth reason, and the most important, the image quality. Time and time again, I look at the images that this lens produces and I have nothing but joy when I look at them. Sometimes I'll use a lens and I'll look at the image and I'll be like, dang, it's a little soft here. Or I wish it was this, or I wish it was that. But that has not been the case when it comes to the 33mm. This lens continues to deliver time and time again. And so for those reasons, the Fuji 33 1.4 would be my lens of choice if I could only have one. I'm thankful that I don't need to make that choice, but if I did, that's the answer to your question. Until next time, God bless.